Just remembered something I was complaining about to somebody the other day, but I forgot what it was, and it would have been funny.
Whenever I answer the phone, I'm like, hello.
What pissed you off?
It's a great argument to have.
I love my mom, but I think she's half crazy for doing that.
How dare you?
Do you work with your girlfriend, Mark? Or your wife, Mark?
I keep them separated. Sometimes I call people, they don't answer the phone, I'm like,
Wrong number, click.
Well, he's not that smart, but sometimes he sounds like he knows what he's doing.
yeah.
Go.
Therefore, you're an ass, and I don't want to talk to you anymore.
Yeah, but what do we know?
I know I posted something to Facebook about the pull and lift easy open tops on food products or whatever, and how they drive me nuts and they never work.
What do you mean
But that-
they never work?
Um,
I'm going to call
probably-
you out on this one.
It'd probably be easiest to go to my Facebook profile and look at like 2 or 3 times ago, whatever I posted a picture of it. It happens to me every single time I try to use those stupid things.
The pull tabs.
They're the new ones. You know how it used to be like they would have like the
They had the metal pull tab that would always pull off, and then you'd be like,
well, no,
my
these
fruit
are-
is trapped forever.
like I'm talking about like with ketchup, how they have
Oh.
softer, and they used to just have like a tab that was attached to whatever that material is that covers the opening before someone ever uses it.
Oh.
Right.
Just lift up and pull it. Well, now they have this like it goes halfway across the circle, and it's like this plastic piece, like really thin plastic piece that
Yes.
covers the whole thing that you lift up halfway. Well, then what are you supposed to do with it? Because it's right directly in the middle. So you're literally trying to overcome the strongest point of this thing by lifting it halfway. And it never ever opens, and that always rips off, and they're super hard to open once that thing does rip off. Super.
Okay.
And by the way, when you have kids that consume mass amounts of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, every jelly container you have to buy has that on it. So I'm constantly having to,
Jelly?
in the
Like
squirt bottles.
seal
or
for
whatever.
jam or something like that.
Oh, squirt bottle jelly. The most delicious kind of jelly there is.
Well, they make
So-
everything in the squeezable containers now.
So have you successfully pulled it off before? Like, I would think instead of pulling it directly up, it's probably like you pick a corner and then
No,
you sort
this
of
is-
peel the side.
You should, Jeff, can you real quick possibly,
Google image search something.
no. Go to my Facebook profile and literally look back. It was 3 or 4 posts ago. I posted a picture of why it fails every time. And you could post it so the listeners can actually see this thing because it happens to me all the time. And Mark, it's literally like they give you this tab that you're supposed to. It's like a tab on top of like the sealed part.
Right.
You're-
You got a circle halfway through. You got half the side. You got half a side that you can peel back.
Yes. And then, but when you peel that up, you're literally like the force of your grip then is in the middle of the thing, all the way across the diameter of it. So the strongest point, like you're literally trying to overcome the entire seal around the whole bottle at that point. It never ever works. It always tears the plastic thing off. I don't know what was wrong with the old way. I guess is maybe it preserves better or something.
I'm gonna try to get this up here for you right now because it's funny. Oh shoot!
It happens to me all the time. All the time.
So I usually have the problem where my hands they're like slightly slippery, and I can't. God dang it! I hate Facebook because every time you scroll over something, it opens up another window on top of what you're looking at. Shoot. But yeah, if my hands are sticky or slippery at all, it slips right off, and I just can't grab onto it.
Oh yeah, if
See,
you have any form of lubrication on your fingers, forget about that.
There we go. I got
Right,
it. Mark,
so-
Mark, you can't see it, but the viewers can.
Yeah, I think I've seen it before. I think I know what you're talking about. Well, see, and this compared to the old way they used to do it, and I really don't like the way they used to do it. So I don't know if this is better or not, but I'm just saying that the old way used to suck because it used to have like that tiny little edge, which if you're like cut your fingernails recently, like within the last month. You could never get that little tiny little.
It was.
scrap
I was
of-
gonna bring up how small that thing used to be too. Like that was my biggest complaint
Right.
of it as well. And you'd be like grabbing it like trying to grab it with a piece of your teeth just to get the end of it. Because even if you grabbed it with something like tweezers, you'd grab it and that would like rip off. So then you wouldn't have an edge anymore.
I
So
feel
the
like.
only thing,
Sorry, go ahead, Mark.
I was going to say, the only thing that what the solution to this problem was, you take a butter knife and you stab it, and then you sort of peeled it off.
Cut on the edge.
That's what
Yeah.
you do. Yeah.
Yeah, I still do that all the time with these new and improved lift and pull, whatever they are. But the thing, the difference is, number one, I feel like the seal around the bottle was lessened back then. So, like, even though it's a small tab, once you got it, it would pull away and it was fine. Well, now it's like on there with like super like model airplane glue or something where you can't pull the stupid thing up. And by the way, they've done away with the small tabs. So the second that like thin piece of film that an infant could rip off tears away, you have nothing to go by. So you're totally stuck with the knife because there's zero chance of you pulling it off of the edge like you're supposed to.
Now, are you one of those people who, if you start to pull it off and it like rips halfway through, do you leave it and just screw it on and use it like that, or do you have to get in there and get all of that piece out of there?
I don't really care. I mean, it depends on a lot of things. Like, how much of it ripped off? Like, is it going to affect how much of this product comes out of the opening, the squeeze opening? Because then I would probably finish the job.
So, because Mark was talking about stabbing the old ones with the butter knife or whatever, and then like peeling it off. I mean, I used to sometimes just be like, stab it with a butter knife and just close it back up and hope that it worked because I didn't feel like ripping the rest of it off.
So, to me, in my life, when you have kids and every moment counts because you're just constantly doing something, whether it be cleaning or cooking or, packing lunches or whatever, that would slow me down. Like, I can see that slowing down my progress over the whole life of the squeezable jelly container. So I would definitely take that all the way out.
You plan for the future.
The volume's going to be restricted, so.
Is peanut butter in squeezable containers too?
I'm pretty sure they make, like, you can actually buy squeezable containers of peanut butter and jelly, like, swirled together.
Yeah.
We don't do
I've never
that.
seen it separate.
But
I've never seen a bottle of just peanut butter squeezable, but peanut butter and jelly I have.
Well, do you remember that guy? God, he had an invention. It was like 3 or 4 years ago, and they thought it was going to revolutionize the container market. He was trying to get all these companies to market their stuff in there, and it had, because when you get to the bottom of your bottle of peanut butter, you can't get all that stuff out. It's just like the angle of the thing. You just try to scrape it with the knife, but you always leave some in there. So we had this thing that it twisted up as you finished, and the bottom raised to get to the top, and it was supposed to be like, he made it so it was the same price point as a normal bottle of peanut butter was, and it was like revolutionary. And then I've never seen or heard from it again. And I was like,
okay, but think about it though. Would a manufacturer really want you to get that last bit of peanut butter?
I mean, they're selling it anyway.
No, if you're
saying that
but
last
you're
little bit of
wasting
peanut
the product.
butter, that it's enough to get you to the store earlier to buy stuff earlier.
Over the lifetime of your peanut butter usage, maybe that's a bottle of peanut butter.
And like I'm saying, where in this household, we're cranking out 5 to 8 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches a week between the 2 kids. That's a lot of peanut butter to be leaving in a jar. I don't know how many extra bottles I have to buy over the course of a year because of that. I can't get out.
And Mike can't slow down to get that last bit of peanut butter. I mean, heck, he can't even slow down to squeeze a bottle a little bit slower. He's going full throttle.
It's ironic though, because you got to think of what are good inventions that people are going to want nowadays, and you always think of what's going to make the consumer's life easier. That's the thing that's going to sell. But then the whole argument you have against this is it makes the consumer's life easier, therefore the manufacturers don't want it out there. That's a weird double-edged sword.
If the product accidentally gives you more product than you want to use at one time, then the manufacturer would love it. You ever shampoo your hair? You try to get a little dime size, and you squirt half the bottle, and you're like, holy crud. Okay, I guess I'll shampoo, and you get a really good lather, but you're using half the shampoo bottle. And if you're like me,
then you make a beard.
Right. But if you're like me, you're half the shampoo bottle, and then for the next couple of weeks, you're like, tiniest little shampoo, make it last, make it last.
But after you get that half the shampoo bottle in the one, before you give up and just say, okay, I'm using all this, you got to pull the turn it upside down, squeeze, dip the
Squeeze, try
hole
to
back
suck
in,
it
and
back
try to
in,
suck
yeah.
up as much as you possibly can.
Right.
And then the outside of it just gets caked with shampoo.
And by the way, for me personally, as someone who's sort of really big on that kind of stuff, sort of like what Mark was talking about, conserve, conserve, conserve. When you have kids, that is the hardest thing to get over because they conserve nothing. In fact, they're little machines that just want to use everything up in the house that they can possibly consume. Like
Right.
toothpaste. My boy is at the age where he wants to put his own toothpaste on his toothbrush. Well, guess if he uses the correct amount, he should, or squeezes half the tube onto his toothbrush every
Well,
time.
that's what you
Let
should
me ask
invent.
you.
A single
Let-
serving toothpaste. Like remember those old mouthwashes that you'd squeeze it first into, and it came up into the top of the bottle into that little cup, and then you drank it from there, so that you'd only get like the amount that you're supposed to. You make the same thing for a toothpaste. You got to squeeze it first, and then it stops it, so it only lets him squeeze out like what you put in there.
Let me ask you though, what is the correct amount of toothpaste on your toothbrush?
Well, I mean, for my kids, like it's different because with Rachel, she's 2. She doesn't have the whole teeth brushing thing down yet. She doesn't know how to
Right.
spit and all that. So, with her, we literally just sort of use like a film. We, barely rub it
Right.
across her toothpaste because now the recommendation from the dentist for infants is that you actually use fluoride toothpaste now. You used to use non-fluoride toothpaste, and they could swallow that and it was fine, but you would use a normal amount of toothpaste. Well, now they say there's actually about the same amount of like fluoride poisoning in kids. If you use the fluoride toothpaste, just use a super small amount, but their teeth are better because of it.
Hmm.
But with Jacob, he's a little older. He's 4 now, and actually like 4.5 if you want to get down to it. But he can brush his teeth and he can spit and rinse his mouth out and all that kind of stuff. So you are supposed to use a little more on his, but not anywhere near the volume that he tries to dispense onto his toothbrush.
More is better.
So
But real quick, Jeff, what you were talking about, the single serving pump thing, didn't they used to make? I thought at one time, I remember as a child, they had like a toothpaste that was in a pump.
They did.
yeah, like Mendadite or
Yeah,
Mennonite?
but it wasn't.
Not a Mennonite.
It wasn't so much a
yeah,
single serving
mount.
pump. I think it was just you worked from the top down. But it was the same concept as this
Same
peanut butter, as the peanut butter jar that I was talking about.
Wait,
Is
so-
pretty much what it is. Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe they were like, man, nobody's buying this stuff because they're using that little bit that's left in
Too
there.
efficient. Yeah.
Well, I was actually told that the amount you're supposed to use on your toothbrush is like basically half a pea size, like for an adult. But all the commercials and all the pictures, they have that huge long tube of toothpaste on the brush to encourage people to like subconsciously
More.
use a lot more toothpaste than they really need. So like whatever you see in that picture, that's like, a month's worth of toothpaste on that toothbrush.
Whatever product we invent, the commercials are going to be like, you misused this much on every serving, and really it's
Right.
like a drop.
I mean, have you seen those hacks, like things that you've been doing wrong your whole life, like how Tic Tacs actually has that little serving dispenser if you hold
Yeah.
it upside down?
I like those kind of things. They're pretty neat, and they actually have something funny. I probably shouldn't be talking about competitors on YouTube, but they have a channel on YouTube called Mental Floss.
Yeah, metal floss.
And they actually just do a lot of informational sort of factoid type videos, but they have I don't know, 3 or 4 at this point videos of life hacks where they just take life hacks and try them out and see if they work or not. They're
Is that
very
the-
amusing.
Is that the one where the guy takes like the roll of saran wrap that doesn't have the holder in it and he cuts the triangles in the corner to hold it up? Or is that a different one?
I don't remember. It's actually, you know who John Green is, who wrote that The Fault in Our Stars book?
Our stars, yeah.
He was on that channel for a long time, and the past couple I've watched don't have him in it. I think he's busy writing that or making
He has
movies.
a whole. I mean, that channel actually has a whole bunch of stuff that my wife and I we watch all like the history of America, the
Yeah,
history Mongolians,
Well,
the
good
Mongols are
channel.
the exception
we
kind of
can
stuff.
do something similar. We'll get a somebody like John Green. It won't be John Green. Let's get Red Green onto the show. And
Alive?
like, huh?
Is he still alive?
I have no idea, but we
Well,
can.
talking about hacks
We
though,
can
that's what that show used to
whole-
be.
that
It
whole
was just
show is
hacks.
Yeah.
ridiculous hacks.
You know,
He made a Hummer out of two broken cars by duct taping them together. I mean,
you know who reminds me of that is like the Russian hacker or whatever his name is.
Edward
Like
Snowden?
hacked by the Russian, and he's like, "Swear safety's first." You have no
I
idea
have
what I'm
no
talking
idea
about.
what you're talking about.
I got nothing.
Russian and hacking, the only thing I got from that is Edward Snowden, but that's obviously not who you're talking about.
No, got nothing.
Well, I'm sure everyone else on YouTube knows who I'm talking about, and he's one of my favorite YouTubers.
We'll have to look him up. All I think about when you talk about Russian is that snow news video from that one of our previous podcasts. I don't remember what one that was. It was around Christmas sometime though, wasn't it?
I think
Right.
so, yeah.
But all right, well this is what? This is our 39th episode.
39.
So last episode I started doing little factoids about numbers. And we'll do that again with 39.
The first number
Okay, hit me.
multiplied by itself is the last number. Is that going to be one of the facts?
The sum of the consecutive primes, I have that one, yes. It's 3 plus 5 plus 7 plus 11 plus 13, and it's also the product of the first and last one of those. And among small semi-primes, only 3 other integers share that attribute.
Semi-primes?
Yes.
I've never even heard of a semi-prime before.
Well, I don't know what that means either. I could look that up, but that would take longer. So I thought people would be smarter than me. But anyways, the 3 other ones are 10, 155, and 371.
So it's in good company.
Yeah, good. Those are good. Those are solid numbers.
Solid numbers, like them.
Solid numbers. Let me see. There are, well, in religion, there's 39 books of the Old Testament. So that's not nothing. It actually 39 is kind of a boring number. There, it looks like there were about I don't know, handful of songs called 39. One by The Cure, one by Tenacious D, one by Queen.
Those are good company.
Huh, all right. Those are all right. Um, here you go, Jeff. This is right up your alley. In the TV show Survivor, the contestants compete for 39 days.
That's they do. I'm surprised.
Wow, you actually knew that?
I did, yeah. I mean, it's the whole premise of the show is that they have to survive for 39 days on the island. Why they made it 39 is beyond me. That is something that I'm always like, why wouldn't you just do 40 or 35? Like 39 is such a weird number unless they literally did it because it was
Well,
every 3 days they were supposed to do something.
yeah, I was gonna say every 3 days, so therefore,
They just added it
of course,
up
they
to-
don't always do it on the third day.
No,
do
and that's
they?
what throws me off too. And sometimes they do multiple challenges. They'll go to tribal council and he'll be like, "And you just voted somebody out, and guess what? Here's a twist. There's a challenge right here, and somebody will also be voted out again right now." So you're like, "Okay."
The number of signers to the U.S. Constitution? Is that correct? Must be, huh?
Yes,
Let's
absolutely.
see
How did you not know that?
This kind of is dark. The traditional number of times citizens of ancient Rome hit their slaves when beating them, referred to as 40 save 1. Huh.
Oh,
It
I'm
is-
glad they made a saying out of that.
I know. I was going to say they must have been really thrilled with themselves for that.
I can see it like back in the day. They're like 39, 4. No, hold up there.
save one,
Save
save
that
one, please.
Yeah,
That's going too far.
Look how generous I am.
We're a civilized society, right?
40
So-
would just make us. I was going to say the
Barbarian.
word barbarians. That was the word I was looking for.
The duration in nanoseconds of the nuclear reaction in the largest nuclear explosion ever performed.
Oh.
That's not nothing.
Is that the Russian one? The
The
T
SAR bomb.
something? Yeah,
TSA. Yep, SAR
yeah.
bomb. Yep. Yeah, 39 is kind of a boring number, actually. Well, I say that. And then in Afghanistan, the number 39 is considered unlucky due to the belief that it's associated with pimps.
Wait, so what's the association with pimps?
I don't know.
Is that how many times they beat their hose, save one? Like,
I don't know. I would have to look that up, but that's I just thought it was interesting. Oh, here you go, Mark, for our last one. Japanese internet chat slang for thank you when written with numbers. 3 equals san, S-A-N, and 9 equals K-Y-U-U.
KY jelly.
Q-san.
So there you go. Mark, next time
Thank you. Yeah, okay, I get you.
yeah, next time you're in a Japanese internet chat room, you should use that. They'd be impressed,
Okay.
probably.
Oh, talking about bad numbers in Japan, I think the number 4 is unlucky. Which,
Why?
unlike in the US, the number 13 is unlucky, but like, not all the buildings in the world have
The
13
13th floor.
stories, but 4 is pretty common in a lot of buildings. I just think it's sort of strange. It's
Why's
because
that?
it sort of sounds similar to like death or dying or something like that.
See, I get so
It's like
upset.
a pun, sort of.
I get so upset with buildings that don't have a 13th floor, but they have like they have over 13 stories and they just skip like
Right.
11, 12, 14 because that's just you superstition dictating the fact that you relabeled your floors just for confusion. That's crap.
Yeah.
That's crap. I mean, like if I was to go to a high-rise fire and they were to be like the fire's on the 13th floor and the 13th floor didn't exist, I'd be pretty upset. Or if it was on like say the 14th floor, so I'm going to stage somewhere and I'm on the wrong floor because it's mislabeled, I'd be a little bit angry.
Yeah,
I think
kind
it's
of a weird
unsafe.
phenomenon.
It's unsafe.
Like, I don't know. I guess if you're, I don't really understand being super superstitious, I guess. Like,
Super
there's-
superstitious?
yeah, to the point where I'd be scared of a floor number on a building. Like, I can't imagine a scenario where something like, a superstition would get me like that.
I remember working at the meat counter at Myers, and they're like, I want 6.5 pounds of meat. So I just, you just grab a glob of meat and you put it on the scale, and it ends up being 6.66 pounds. And I looked at them, they're looking at me, and I'm like, okay. Like, I removed that little bit just because, like, some people really hold that, like, that is the mark of the devil or whatever, but I don't really even I mean, I get where they might get that from, but I think it's been proven, like, through theology and through a lot of, that it's all false. Like,
How many of
666
these
has nothing to do with it.
How many of these superstitious people about the number 13 or 666 do you really think are going out and reading theology papers? I don't think
I
that
don't-
they're the top of
Yeah.
the food chain there. I mean,
Right, and you have all these super weird ones like knocking on wood and things like that. Like, and by the way, in my life, I've definitely done that just because it's such a common thing, and not because I feel like I have to. Like when I stop and think about it, I'm like, no. In fact, I'm not going to knock wood just out of principle.
well,
But-
then it's still got a hold on you, Mike. It's this. You
Because I
gotta
have
wait
to
till
think
that
about
day
it.
that you just
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
even think about it.
Well, I mean, is there anything that you do superstitious-wise that, like, you don't really have to do, but you do it anyways?
I look both ways before crossing the street.
I don't think that's superstition.
I mean,
think
I,
that's just
I
being smart.
even on a one-way
just sound
road,
advice.
even on a one-way road, I still look the other way in case.
Well, that
somebody's
could be
coming-
just habit,
Somebody's
though.
That's
coming
just
down the
habit.
wrong direction.
That's definitely just habit.
Are you
Because
sure
I've
that's
done that.
not superstition?
Yeah, I'm sure because I've done that
Okay, me too.
in downtown Flint. Like every road is one way. I've definitely done that too.
And that's probably smart because I have driven down a one-way road downtown Flint. And it's like I stopped at a light. I don't even understand how it even worked out because I was stopped at a light on a one-way street, so I shouldn't have a light. But I remember looking at all the cars facing me, thinking this is not good. Like all the cars in the street was facing me, and I was just like,
I remember going over to Windsor as a kid. They have a ton of one-way streets too, and they used to aggravate me to no end. All their streets were one way, and I don't ever remember there being like a problem with traffic or anything over there. Like I don't remember it being super busy. I can't for the life of me figure out why they have so many one-way streets over there.
I remember there was a problem with parking that they have a big problem with
Yeah,
over there.
they definitely probably because they have to have double the amount of streets because they're all one way. Clears out parking space. I don't know. I haven't been over to Windsor in years and years and years.
I mean, because we used to go, for the aspect that we could go over there and gamble and drink at 19.
At 19. Yeah.
So, since we're no longer 19, it's not as exciting of a thing to go do.
even when we were around 19, how often did you go to Canada to drink? Like it's like, oh, someone's birthday, they turned 19. Let's go to Canada and drink.
I went on a couple random, like I left with Cody and Christina some nights at like midnight. We'd be sitting around their house and they'd be like, let's go to Windsor. Okay.
Oh,
I was going to say, I made a handful of trips down there.
well, because from the ages of 19 to 21, I probably went there maybe like 4 times, which saying that it was only like a 2-hour drive away to be able to drink before, I turned 21.
Well, then you have to drive 2 hours home. So we always did have that idea in mind still.
Right, I guess. Yeah, I guess you can't really get wasted too much if you're
Right.
coming back. Yeah.
Right.
Well, and now it's such a like you couldn't really do what we used to do anymore because now you have to have like either the passport or like a graduated license to even go across. Well, actually, I don't even think you can do the graduated license anymore.
Really?
You have to take your birth certificate or something. Like there's definitely a lot more rules now.
Well, yeah, I have a passport now, but I didn't back then. But I guess it's also more expensive, too, because the dollar, like the Canadian dollar is, about the same or stronger than the American dollar. So it's actually more expensive to go do stuff in Canada.
Yep. And when we used to go, it was almost 2 to 1. You could turn in $1 and get 2 Canadian.
Yeah, yeah. So you used to go, hit up duty free for liquor and smokes, go to the casino and gamble and not spend nearly as much money and
Yep.
come home.
Good time.
Well, do you have to be at a certain age before they'll let you rent stay at a hotel in Canada? Because I know in the U.S. there was like something strange, like you had to be like 23 or 25 before you can.
That's definitely not true.
No,
I
that's
know
not
for car rentals, you're
for
supposed
car
to be.
rentals. Yeah.
Car rentals?
Yep.
I thought for hotels you had to be a certain age as well.
I think you just had to be 18. I got a hotel once at 17, and I was worried they weren't going to give it to us because we threw a huge hotel party. We still remember when we used to actually get hotels just to throw hotel parties.
Well, in fact, Mark, when you and me and Amber went down to North Carolina, there was no way we were 25, and we stopped in a hotel.
I guess maybe that depends on the place that you go. I remember being asked like to show ID when I was staying at one place near the airport in Detroit, but
Wouldn't your wife know best? Isn't she like work at a hotel for many years of her life?
well, I wouldn't say many years. I think she was like 6 months, but yeah, I guess I could ask her.
Many years, 6 months. I'm just saying, like I'm just giving you like random my opinion knowledge. It's not anything that I know.
Well, I mean, I don't know for sure. I do remember I read an article about some soldier. I don't know how old he was, but he basically was told that he wasn't old enough to stay at this hotel.
Was it the hotel out in Vegas area that Hugh Hefner runs?
I don't know. It was some policy of the hotel, and I think they changed it, but it was weird. It got really political really quickly. Like, oh, he's old enough to, fight for your freedom, but
You
he's
can
not.
argue that about so many things. Why is the drinking age
Yeah.
21? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, I think that's just ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
I want to know why we made a 21 drinking age. Why does Canada have a 18 drinking age when adulthood's at 18? Like, why as a Canadian would you be like, you're an adult at 18, however, you got to wait one more year before you can drink? I mean, at least we're 21, so it's not even like, oh, adulthood and then drinking. It's for some reason we have this thing where we're like, oh, it's long enough away, like it seems acceptable. 19 is just like, that's like a slap in the face, like you're a man,
Okay.
but not really, type of deal.
Well, I do know in the U.S. it used to be like
It
I
used
think
to
it
be
still is.
18.
I think in the States, it's basically up to the state to decide what the drinking age should be. But it was something like the money that they got for like their highways or their roads, they could only get it if their drinking age was 21. So it's still voluntary, but you're missing out on millions of dollars if you don't change the drinking age.
Oh, that's
So
weird.
everyone changed
'Cause
their drinking age to
They
21.
changed it in the 60s, right?
Not exactly.
Yeah, I'm not
Because
sure.
I used to work with a guy who he turned 18 3 days before they changed it, and he was grandfathered. Like, if you were already 18 by the day that they changed it, you were grandfathered. So for the next 3 years, he was still legally allowed to go drink and buy alcohol, and his
But the people
friends who were
behind him-
3 days younger than him had to wait like years to be able to go to the bar. He said he used to have so much fun with that because he could just.
Yeah, I was going to say, what did you say, 60s?
Well,
I
I'm
want to
sure
say
he
it
was
was the
popular.
60s.
Yeah,
Like,
it might have been
you're
like
the guy who buy all the alcohol.
late 60s because I work with a guy who's, I think he's 62. And I remember him saying he used to be able to drink at 18. So he would have been born in, 50-ish, 52, 53, something like that. So, yeah, well, no, so maybe it had to be in the 70s then, I guess.
Could be.
70s.
It could be. I don't know exactly when it was. It was
Well-
that time frame.
Now, I think they switched it to 21. There's been studies that show that we still grow and develop quite a bit until we're like 25, where we're sort of permanently set at our like full growth potential. But I didn't know exactly how disastrous alcohol can be on your body. You would think from all the drinking and puking and passing out that I would know how bad it could be for your body until I met this guy named Sam. Now, Sam.
Tell us
is
about
somebody-
Sam, Mark. Tell us about Sam.
Sam was my neighbor in Owita in Japan, and I saw him one day, and he had this cast on on his arm, and he was drunk one day, and he punched a wall, and he ended up fracturing his arm from punching the wall so hard. So he's was sort of a raging alcoholic. But anyways, he got a sling and a cast on, and they had it set for about a month. But I guess he didn't stop drinking, and when they went to take off the cast a month later, they basically said that none of it healed. It was exactly as bad as the day he came in, and they think it's because of the alcohol that like his body just wasn't able to actually heal at all. Like the bones didn't set, didn't heal, and I'm just like, that blew my mind. Like I didn't know. I mean, have you ever had an issue with that? Like, you're a nurse, so have you ever?
I mean, we deal with a lot of chronic
Hold on.
alcoholics that come in, but I've never seen them that had an injury that just didn't heal.
So,
Yeah.
Mark, you and I, we got a little game here. I just
Okay.
thought of a game on the spot. Jeff is.
Sitting this one out.
No, Jeff is good. Well, you're going to be the one to determine who wins this game.
Okay, the judge, the powerhouse.
So, Mark,
I feel like I'm at a disadvantage saying Mike's making it up, and he's one of the contestants. But,
oh no,
okay.
it's going to be purely a guess between us. But so, just strictly due to Jeff's experiences working in an ER, what percentage of people do you think come into the hospital that are, I guess, how should I word this? Like visibly inebriated? I feel like it's probably fairly high. Like good injuries happen a lot due to drunkenness, I think.
So, I don't know if I should throw out a caveat or not on this, or let you guys do some guessing first.
Okay, well, I mean, like, okay, so there's not, so you're making a distinction between being alcohol in the breath, like you can visibly smell the alcohol, but he acts sober, or are you just basically saying
Well,
this guy was drinking or gal was drinking beforehand?
well, if they've been drinking at all, I feel like that's a much higher rate. But Jeff, if you suspect they're drinking, you give them an alcohol test, right?
Absolutely not.
No.
You
Okay.
avoid an alcohol test to all possibilities because
It's more work.
once you establish their alcohol level, you have to establish or you have to get it down to a certain point before you can discharge them.
Okay.
If you don't establish the alcohol level, people can be drunk and still walk around. Like, I mean, we go to
Right.
bars and drink all the time. So you don't want to just hold somebody there because you legally have to. You make sure that they're then stable on their feet and then they can go on their merry way.
Right. Well, and plus, if you start everyone who's even, a little bit over the limit, if you start holding them, that makes people not want to come to the hospital,
Right.
and you got a whole nother problem.
Right.
So this is again strictly based on Jeff's visual guessing, I suppose. If you had to put a number to it, let's try a percentage. Can you do that, Jeff? Do you have like a percentage? Say?
Yeah, I could come up with one.
People who are visibly like they've definitely been drinking.
Yeah, I could come up with a percentage.
And Jeff, this is just mostly you working in the ER then? Would that be the
I mean,
guess, Mike?
they don't
Or-
usually come up to the ICU still drunk. It does happen, but and then once they are there, they don't usually get drunk again during the time frame that they're. Not usually. It has
I
happened
would
before.
for sure. All right, I'll go first. I'm gonna say, 'cause I feel like
Well,
not
well,
every-
we could just do it like this. You give a percentage, and I could say higher or lower. Or,
so you play
or
the-
I could give a percentage,
one
and
guess. You get 9.
or I could give the percentage if you want, and you could guess higher or lower.
Okay, I don't care. Whatever. I'll give a percentage. You guess higher or lower.
Okay.
I'll say 25%.
So 1 in 4 people going to see Jeff is visibly drunk or inebriated.
I'll say that. Sure.
25%. Well, I do know Jeff said that basically the first complaint that everyone that goes there says they're like basically hungry. And I know when I get drunk, I'm really hungry.
On Taco Bell. That's right.
I get
I
hungry
do.
all the time. Yeah.
Do anyway.
It also could be because the weed is legal now in DC. You never know.
Could be. I want to actually guess less than 25%. People go into the ER for a lot of different reasons, and especially I would think women would go in for a lot more personal reasons that have nothing to do with alcohol. So I want to say less than 25.
It's significantly less than 25%.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean it's got to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 to 10%. But
Maybe I just lived in Flint too long.
well, and we see like, but the thing is, those drunk people feel like they're taking up 25% of your time sometimes because they're.
That's what I meant.
They're way more work. The other thing you got to keep in mind is, Mike, your idea, which is funny because I would think your numbers would be backwards, but your idea is that when people get drunk, they make mistakes and do things that get them hurt that have to go to the hospital. We have a lot of people that come in just because they sleep on the sidewalk, and if somebody sees them and calls 911, they're now legally obligated to bring them in. They're not hurt at all. They're just drunk, and they come in solely for the fact that they're drunk. So it's not even that they get hurt. They're just like, hey, it's a drunk guy.
Right.
Here you go. Police don't have drunk tanks anymore, at least not out here. If you're
Well, and that was part of like my rationale on that was like homeless people that they just get picked up because somebody says they look hurt.
Yeah, so I would say because we see about 250 people a day, MIER, and I'd say anywhere between 5 to 15 in a night are going to be drunks. And it's usually night shift, not always. It does happen during the day. But the thing is, we just got such a high flow through our ER. If you go to a smaller hospital, you might be up to 25% because you just might have more homeless people that are drunk than you have normal clientele.
Depends on the area.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
what would you say the highest percentage for something for the ER?
Wait, let's guess on that too.
Highest percent. I mean, okay, I could give you a handful of things that are the heavy hitters of why people are there. So,
You're strictly in the ICU?
No, I'm between the ER and ICU. So I talk about the ER because the ICU is a whole different ballgame. It's
Right. I feel like heart attack is a lot.
well, okay. I see you're going with chest pain because
Yeah.
people don't know if they're having heart, and that's
Right,
that's
right.
why it's such a heavy hitter. But yes, that is definitely
Right.
one of them. Why it's such a heavy hitter is people go, oh, I have
Well-
chest pain, and I was told that I have to go to the. Usually, 99% of the time is nothing.
If we were
Right.
playing Google Feud, did I have the number 1 or 2 or 3 answer?
I would guess that that's number one.
Yay!
Oh. I was just gonna say pain. Just like you don't necessarily know what's causing, but I'm like I have pain.
Anywhere
Like
in
I
the
have
whole
my
body? What a
Pain.
generic answer.
Generalized,
Well, I mean, like-
generalized pain, I wouldn't give it to you. Pain, yes, because that encompasses chest pain. Like,
My next answer is they're either hurt or sick.
that's sorry, Mike. That's only a small percentage of people in the ER.
I would say the most are seeking medical professionals to treat them.
No, but really, any more guesses? Because there's a couple more.
Oh, okay. Basically, like something happened with their child, like
Well, we don't
Anything.
see kids,
oh,
so I can't
not
give
even
you
in the
a,
IC,
what.
like even in intensive care.
No,
like,
we don't. No,
like
we
you bump
actually
your kid
we
against
would.
a wall.
We can
or-
see a kid in the ER. They cannot admit a kid to our hospital. We don't have pediatric services.
Is there another hospital near you that does?
That would be
Yeah, we
correct.
share the parking lot with Children's
Yeah.
Hospital.
Okay.
So
I see.
Broken bones, I bet, is way up there.
no, actually, it's I'd give that a 20%.
Okay. Well, that's not bad. 20%.
Food poisoning, like some kind of poisoning.
No, I wouldn't say food poisoning per se, but what does that go along with? Why would you
Like-
think you have food poisoning?
Alcohol
butt.
poisoning.
Well, no. Why would you think you have food poisoning?
Oh, because you consumed something that you shouldn't have.
No, but
Vomiting.
there you go. Nausea and vomiting is a big one.
Oh, no mud butt.
No, not often. Just a little bit of mud butt.
All right.
I'd give
Disgusting, squirting diarrhea. Just can't keep it in their pants.
That's actually relatively common. Yes, not said the same way. by
Shooting,
everybody.
just exploding out of them,
I'd say you're from top to bottom. It'd probably be chest pain,
covered in diarrhea.
covered in diarrhea. No, chest pain, nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain, and
Covered in diarrhea.
covered in diarrhea. No.
Isn't that just
and
like basically Pepto-Bismol or something like that? Like
well,
Stomach.
here's a big one. Vaginal bleeding is a huge one, but going along with that is we actually have a lot of people who come in specifically because they think they're pregnant and want to test. They usually don't tell you that. You'll get that out of them at some point because they'll start saying all these things. It's like the people whose story just keeps adding to. Like, you're in the triage booth. Why are you here? Abdominal pain. Because you always, for abdominal pain for a woman, you're always going to give her a pregnancy test.
That one surprises me
Why?
because you can go to any drugstore and buy a pregnancy test relatively
And it's
cheap.
cheaper.
It's super cheap, and that's the thing is it makes no sense. Like, some people will, if you actually get out of somebody that's the only reason that you're there. Some of the more direct female nurses are usually like, you're spending $250 to get something you can go to the dollar store and get for $1, right? A lot of these people also have no intention on paying. They think their insurance is going to cover it. Like, there's a lot of.
But I mean, I also heard people who go to the dollar store or wherever, the pharmacy, they do a pregnancy test, and then they go to the doctor to confirm. Like, is that not what you're supposed to do? I don't know if you really need to confirm
if
or
it's
not.
positive. If you
Yeah.
take one that's negative, in my opinion, I don't see why women would be like, "Oh, it's negative. I better go confirm that with the doctor."
Well, but
No, I
even
mean, but
like
if it's positive,
when Carrie found out, took the pregnancy test from the drugstore and found out, that they were positive, she didn't go to the ER.
Yeah,
and
you
she
make an
went to
appointment with a
pediatrician.
pediatrician or
or OBGYN or whatever.
or you cry in the corner, and you're just like, God, why? Why?
no. That's what I usually. That's what I would do. You know, um, so yeah, the ER, it's a strange place, but you get a lot of things that you would never expect from working there. Because I would never expect people to come in just because they wanted pregnancy tests. Because I feel we could actually, if we put a box of pregnancy tests like on the front table and just was like free, I think you'd have a decent chunk of people that would be like, oh, grab one and they'd leave and never come back.
Right,
my
but
health
then
insurance would probably go down.
Then
yeah,
what?
but then the hospital wouldn't make the $250.
The thing
or
is,
They don't anyway.
I was that's the thing with an ER is the ER is kind of like a money loss for most hospitals, I believe, because of the fact that you just get a lot of people who they don't pay, and you can't really go after people for not paying. You can, but like medical bills can't hold up your credit. Like there's a lot of weird stipulations with the way medical bills work.
So with Obamacare now, have you noticed like a difference in that? I mean, because supposedly the nation has a much higher rate of being insured at this point.
No, not really. I think we got about the same from what I've seen. But I also don't deal with the insurance part of it. I don't care if you have insurance or not for what I do. Neither do the
Right.
ER docs. A lot of people, the first thing they ask is my insurance going to cover what you're about to do? I'm like, dude, I have absolutely no idea. I don't even know if you have insurance. Like, I don't care. That's not what my job is.
Right, and that's good. That's the way it should be.
Well, yes.
Is it?
It
Yeah.
is the way it should be
Yeah.
because you don't want to. You never want to change care based on insurance. If I know, if I was a doctor and I knew that if I perform this procedure, it's not going to get covered by your insurance, therefore it's never going to get paid. Some people might not do it because they're not getting paid.
Well,
However, if there was an alternate procedure that could be done that your insurance would cover, I think that would be good to know. So it's a back and forth game of whether it's good to not know. It all depends on your character, actually.
I think it's because I think that's sort of weird to say because I've been to the hospital a couple times and for certain reasons we were basically trying to figure out how much is this going to cost us. In Japan, it's usually never too bad. I think the most we ever paid for a medical procedure was $2,000, and that was staying a week in the hospital. So that's actually not too expensive, I don't think. But like, you know, there maybe you would prefer to go to a hospital that's less expensive. Maybe you want to go not have all the tests done if it's not like a life-threatening procedure.
Because you're right. A lot of that's just dictated by a
Very
doctor
expensive.
too. Because the doctor can just be one of those ones who will work up everything for absolutely zero reason. So you have in the emergency department, you have people who are very quick and this is all we're going to look at because that's the most heavy hitters for what you got, and then I'm going to send you home. And you got people who are like, I better work up the entire world on you because that's just the way I operate. And you're kind of at the whim of what they order and what they want done. We do have one insurance company that, for some reason, the hospital doesn't participate with this insurance company. It's a new thing in the last year. So what they do is they put a piece of paper on the front of the chart that says that these people are with this insurance because it's supposed to be a signification that if you're going to admit this person, you have to work it through this system or we'll transfer them out to a facility that does take this insurance. So they do try to do some of that to help the patient out, but at the same time, if they don't have insurance, though, there's nothing on the chart that says that minimalize care because you don't want to minimalize care. Like it's such a weird
Right.
I
system.
That's what I was going to bring up, was that it's a really slippery slope because, Jeff, you talked about it like from a doctor's perspective or even a nurse's perspective. Like if you know they don't have insurance, even if you know there's another procedure you can do that costs less, at that point, like I'm sure there's going to be a difference in like success rate or something along those lines between these two procedures. So you're forcing doctors and nurses into making a decision based
ethical
on
dilemma.
the patient's health. What?
An ethical dilemma, essentially.
Right. Exactly. So you're basically asking them to kind of calculate the odds of success and weigh their life accordingly at that point.
Well, I mean, there's that, but I also think there's something about being informed of like, yeah, I might be, helping this person right now with his medical problems, but then, he's going to be in crippling debt, and then it's going to eventually lead him to have a life where you know.
But is that your decision to make as the healthcare provider on what it's going, how they're going to live with
Well,
debt?
I think there's like I think it should be at least to the point where the consumer, the person who's getting their medical procedure done, could have some knowledge of how much things are going to cost. If I want to choose to waiver some of the options, like I don't want to take this X-ray because it's going to cost me $700, I'll just have to you just set it and hope for the best. Or, okay, I'm willing to pay this amount to get the CAT scan over an X-ray. Or
You
I think
you can refuse anything you want. I mean, as a patient, what I think really
right,
needs
but
to happen is the insurance companies need to stop dicking places around, and like it's CMS, like the Center for
Oh,
Medicare and Medicaid Services, constantly are changing the laws and what they're going to reimburse everything for, and that's what's really hurting our system so much.
oh,
Granted, some of the stuff they do is okay, it's good, it's driving change, but then some of the stuff they do is just to make money and pay less.
okay. You totally just hit on a nerve with me, and maybe it's different in Washington D.C.
CMS is federal, so
I totally forgot about this aspect of hospitals until just this minute when you started talking about that. Why in the world do hospitals you can go? So okay, let me back up a little bit. So when
the
back it up.
steam is already coming off your head. I
oh,
can tell.
I hate this part about hospitals, and it's sort of been lingering like my whole life, but it really reared its ugly head when Rachel was born. So
You calling your daughter ugly?
so when you go to a hospital, Rachel had a really sort of like a dangerous sort of birth. Like there was an emergency C-section, and Rachel, you know, I don't even remember what the odds of like her being born healthy were, but she was kind of our miracle baby. So when we started getting bills for this, which is fine, we're supposed to get bills, we get 16 different bills from 16 different billing centers within the same building. None of them communicate with each other. They all go to the same hospital. In the age of technology we're in right now, why is that not lumped into one bill? We can just pay the stupid thing.
Don't even talk about the age of technology in a hospital system. It's so messed up that they can have all these technological advances. Like they have an LVAD. It runs your heart essentially until you can get a transplant. Yet
Right.
they
But
don't
they can't bill me.
They can't bill you. They can't build electronic health record systems that make any sense to anybody in the world. Like they don't nothing communicates. It's such a joke to talk about.
It's unbelievable to me. Like, and again, this is so the reason
This
I
is
brought
people's
up.
lives on the line, and all of a sudden
Well,
they can't get the simple things
the
right.
reason I brought up Rachel's birth is because I understand this crosses over from OBGYN to birthing center to ER to, you know, like all these emergency things they had to do. I get that it crosses over departments or whatever. Computers can hook up to each other now and communicate, and you can lump all this stuff into one section where I don't have to pay 37 different people in the same building and have trouble making those payments because no one is on the same page.
Yeah, wouldn't you think?
It's unreal to
It's-
me how screwed up it is. It's not like I'm trying to mess anybody up, you know, and not pay somebody. I sent out all these checks and I have to communicate with so many different. I'm still dealing with that billing process. Rachel's 2 years old now.
Yeah, it should be
Yeah.
one place. You send a bill, you send a check in, they distribute it properly. That's
Yeah,
how it should go.
I'll send you a check for the entire amount of every department I crossed over right now. But unfortunately, I get bills literally in succession over the course of like months. Keep
Right.
getting bills from all
Like-
these different sections of the hospital.
Well, it's
Maybe the hospital's like, let's see how much we can milk this guy for. Okay, he paid
He
this
can't
bill.
keep
Let's
track
give
of
him
all this
another
stuff.
bill.
Yeah.
See if he like it has nothing to do with anything. They're just like, we'll just make something up, send it to him, see if he pays it.
well, think of
Maybe
it
it
this
is.
way. Even my paychecks, I get direct deposit. If they mess up my paycheck in some way, shape, or form, and I need to get a check cut for like the extra money that they've like not paid me for or whatever, which has happened a few times, you have to wait until the next pay cycle before they'll cut you a check, because for some reason they only run that during one time, you know, of the month. They can't just give you a check in the middle, even though they screwed up. But they won't direct deposit it. you have to then go either get a check mailed to you or go pick up the physical check from the payroll office, because they won't just add it to your next direct deposit check, even though you have to wait until the next direct deposit time frame for them to cut you this check. It doesn't even make sense. Like, the same system doesn't even communicate with itself. It's like...
Yeah,
Well,
it's crazy to me how that...
And I sort of wonder, like, you're talking about all this billing stuff. What does it come to the same issue with medicine? Like, are there people getting medicine that shouldn't go together because the departments aren't talking to each other about the medicine?
Yes, very much so.
That's
Like, if you consistently get your like medications, like your prescriptions from CVS or Walgreens or something like that, they will be able to see that you've gotten like drugs that don't mix, and it's very good when you go to big chains like that. Then there's also supposed to be these systems in the back end who can also look at where you've gotten things from like around all these other pharmacies that participate in this group called SureScripts or something like that. The problem is, I think people are pulling out of SureScripts, so if I go to Walgreens and then go to CVS, they have no record that I've got these medications that can contradict each other.
See, and that's why I don't understand with, like, unless it's all the drug companies trying to do this on purpose, I don't understand how people could be, like, addicted to, let's say, like, painkillers and stuff, and have, like, 50 pills per, like,
because
day.
until recently, they didn't even have these places that you could go look up what people got. Like, we actually have access in the hospital now, and that's why I know that people aren't participating like they used to. SureScripts is something that, like, 98% of pharmacies are supposed to be, like, participating with this thing. But the thing is, so when they go in, I can hit a button and pull in all their prescription history over the last 3 months and see what they've gotten to help. For one, it helps with your medications by history, just to know what people are taking. And for two, it helps just look for drug seekers.
Sure.
Usually it's empty now. And I think it's because all these places are pulling out. Because all that's happening is these companies, like, they're going to CVS and being like, hey, would you like to participate? Pay us money and you can participate. And it's like... I think they're like, nah, I'm not going to participate. I have to pay you money.
Right. Well, and also, like, wow, we caught these drug fiends, but now we have a lot less drugs sold for some reason.
Yeah.
So, wonder if there's a correlation there.
Yeah, I was going to say, I bet that has more to do with it also, is that they're not selling nearly as much drugs.
What I'm going to change pill bottles to have a little twist bottom, so I make sure I get every little last bit of pill in that pill bottle as it comes up.
I don't think that most drug addicts have a problem with that, though. I'm pretty sure they probably lick the bottle at some point.
They have the problem, like I was telling you, like the shampoo problem. They're just a little bit of half the bottle.
Yuck.
Yeah. Hospitals, drugs. Wonderful, wonderful places.
Boom.
Whenever I answer the phone, I'm like, hello.
What pissed you off?
It's a great argument to have.
I love my mom, but I think she's half crazy for doing that.
How dare you?
Do you work with your girlfriend, Mark? Or your wife?
I keep them separated. Sometimes I call people, they don't answer the phone, I'm like,
wrong number, click.
Well, he's not that smart. Sometimes he sounds like he knows what he's doing.
Go.
Therefore, you're an ass, and I don't want to talk to you anymore.
Yeah, but what do we know?